Hello, are we there? Are we there? Am I live? It says my phone waiting for real magic review, so let me know if you can hear me. Let me know. Give me a testing 1 2 1 2. Let me know if you're there. There we go. I think we're so I might have started already. It's really hard to see when I actually start and when we press start streaming and then it takes a while. Hello, welcome to this one. I'm going to faff for a bit. As Will says, like, subscribe, do all that. It's becoming even more important than ever now because this is now my life and the cardmagiccourse.com, of course. Today we will be talking in a minute about Share Magic Live. It was on yesterday. We hope that I'm not going to get closed down. I got closed down last week, which was really frustrating. And I don't know why, because I don't get nervous, but I get a bit like, oh, it's, you sort of plan it, it's 5 o'clock. And the reason my eyes are going over here is because that's where a lot of the comments are. So I'm going to try and not do that. But yeah, and then it didn't happen, and then it didn't happen again. And that's it on my phone. And it got to me. It got to me. That's what it did. I can tell at the moment because our nerves are all getting a bit. I haven't sort of had much physical contact with human beings. Not that I get much anyway, but it's really starting to show that what happened last week really upset me. I was not deeply upset, but yeah. So that's what's happening at the moment. We're human beings, and we're all a little bit on edge, and that's totally fine. Yeah. So I think. It was because it was Carpenter coins, and I think because it said Carpenter, they might have thought I was going to play the Carpenters or something. That's what I think it was. So I'm going to say hello to everybody. I know that some people don't like the waffly, rambly stuff, and they want me to just get on with it. I'm sorry, that doesn't happen. I've accepted my brand at the moment, which isn't a healthy one, but there you go. So, let's do this. So I'm not professional at this yet. Welcome to Real Magic Review. My name is Steve Faulkner, and this is Share Magic Live. Did that work? I don't know. We'll have a look. So, first of all, as I said before, please like, subscribe, visit cardmagiccourse.com. We're doing a live set. It's all changing now. It's great. I love the fact that you can start experimenting with stuff and then it starts evolving. And we'll talk about that with Vanishing Ink in a minute with this Share Magic Live. And the live sessions we're doing now every Monday, I've decided to split into beginners and more advanced. And we're going to also have sessions on non-card stuff. So anything about being a professional magician. And my deal is I will answer any question at all. I'm completely transparent, anything. So that's going to be because I want to help develop magicians. Now, that's kind of going to be the aim of my life, I think. Yeah, maybe. And review stuff and then just enjoy magic for learning. Because it's great, isn't it? And that's important about what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to talk about Share Magic Live, as I said, that was streamed last night for a good few hours, and I sat and watched pretty much every second except for the odd little break. I'm going to check the comments, say hello, and then come back to this because I think it's important. It's connection. Right? So I will answer some questions. First of all, actually made live Q&A. Yay! So just hello everybody, that you've all said hello. It is lovely that you're here, and I think even more important every day that goes on that we connect, that we, which is why it was so good, this thing last night. Good, it wasn't flawless, and I'll try and be as honest as I can. Remember, this is only one man's opinion, and it's usually right, but probably isn't a lot of the time. So what I'll do is I'll run through for those of you that didn't see it, I'm sure a lot of you did. Vanishing Ink did an online magic convention. Now, this was done very quickly after we were all locked down, which was pretty like, how's this going to go? They didn't have long to sort it out. Obviously, they're still running the warehouse. They're still doing their stuff. Now, I'm going to sound like, and I always do, a bit of a Vanishing Ink fanboy. So a lot of people ask me whether I'm affiliated with Vanishing Ink. I'm really not. They send me their stuff, as do Murphy's Magic, as do Independent Creators, as do Alakazam. So it's all the same. Now and then when I do stuff, obviously they a lot of the stuff they share on their blog, and from the early days they've supported me, but that's it. And it's cool. So please don't think I'm affiliated. There's no thing here for me, because what I'm doing is I'm doing this, and then tomorrow I'll be putting out a review of the new Ben Hart book, or maybe even tonight. And again, that's a Vanishing Ink thing, but it's just the way it kind of goes. I try and line it in with release dates and talk about things as they're current, and that's kind of the only thing that I've got at the moment. So they had a week thought out. I was very thinking, how is this going to work? It's been a weird thing, hasn't it, seeing this idea of a magic convention and a magic lecture online. I did a lecture from here last week on this coronavirus Facebook page, Magicians Coronavirus Facebook page, and it was, again, it's a weird thing to do, it's a weird thing to watch, and we have to acclimatise to this different way of doing things. I suppose watching it isn't that different to some lectures. I mean, I remember seeing Shutagawa released his lectures on DVD that were very much stripped down, him in a room doing it like that. So it's not the first time we've seen it, but the idea of a convention, obviously it hasn't got that social part of it, other than the barrage of amazing amazing comments. Those guys at Vanishing Ink had to kind of police that. That was incredible. And they were just like coming like so I will run through what we saw. First of all, we had Josh and Andy on, and let me just check you can hear me okay. Yes. We had Josh and Andy on who did an intro, and straight away it's what's happening a lot, even on the news, and even when people are talking to politicians on the news, you've got this thing about delay, you've got the thing about we've got to learn to talk online a bit better on Zoom, and timing of things. There's obviously a bit of and all that stuff I've got to kind of deal with on here as well. There's a bit of that going on. So they did a brilliant intro, really funny, 3 things that you don't know about each other. One of them is that Josh is into recreating Civil War battles or something like that. That's going to be so wrong. And then Andy runs faster than anybody on the Vanishing Ink team. No, Andy, you've got. There's got to be some work to be done there. But it was really nice. It was really personal. It was a lovely intro. And there's what it did. There's something weird, isn't there, about seeing people in their houses? Not weird, bad, just different. And kind of we've seen it before with like really well shot, but seeing it on computers and. It's a really levelling and a humanising thing, which I will discuss in a bit, because this is going to be a discussion as well. The first lecture after that was Harapan on. Harapan did a really lovely Ace production, and he said it's not going to be easy stuff, but I didn't think it was that difficult. His stuff is kind of sleight of hand, but I don't think any of it's really, really impossible. Very pretty. He did this Ace production from the card from the bottom of the deck. He did a 4 Ace production, but the final one from the bottom of the deck. Actually, I did it and could pretty much do it straight away. So if you do go back and watch it, and the links will be below here afterwards, because it has been released for download now, have a look at that and try. It looks really difficult, but it's really easy. And there was a really lovely cut by Ben Earl on there. And then he did this Dr. Daly's Last Sandwich, or Daly's Last Sandwich, which is from Principia, which is a really lovely Dr. Daly's sandwich hybrid, which I really liked. And again, not over difficult, but flashy enough not to look too flashy. I think his stuff really, have a look at my review of Principia, I love it. But really nicely done. Again, very cool to see him sitting with his bed in the background. There's something really endearing about seeing this happen. And he was saying how nervous he was, so he's been quite vulnerable, and I really connected with him, really liked it. And I struggle sometimes to watch card magic in conventions and in lectures, and we'll talk about the card magic situation in a minute. So then, after that was Jim Krenz. Jim Krenz I'd seen at the session, I think, just walking around, hanging out. Hadn't seen his stuff. He did an amazing card to box, really good. And he did a thing with a mem deck that you don't have to do with a mem deck, but he used a control that, again, is way more practical than some people think it was. But I think all of us kind of looked at that and just went, oh, that is so good and really Dutch and really clever. And you could it was difficult, but you could kind of imagine doing it. And I really liked Jim's stuff. Him and Harapan both came across really well on camera, and I felt I connected with both of them, which was great. So I'm going to read, because there's a lot to go on. Then I think it was at that point that Andy and Josh revealed Share Magic, this new site that you're going to be able to watch almost like TED Talks for Magician. It's going to be completely free, and they're going to keep adding to it as the it's not going to be a temporary thing. And they've got people like Ben L doing talks and lots of other people they mentioned that I can't remember. But loads of people on there that doing talks about magic and, not just about the tricks, because that's what they've done a lot at, obviously, at the session and other conventions have as well, Live Magic and Magic Live and things like that. But that's going to be a really exciting resource. So they launched that, which was really nice. Then I think it was Justin Willman. It was, because I've just seen it on that big board over there. Which again, I haven't watched a lot of Justin's TV stuff. Which I know a lot of people have on Netflix. I don't watch a lot of TV magic. It's a one thing, I really like it, I really respect it. I don't watch a lot of it. I don't know why, but I'd seen bits of it. I really liked what I'd seen actually, a lot better than a lot of TV magic. But he talked about the TV side of it, but then talked a lot about, he was again he did a thing at the end, and which was very vulnerable, very human, and really got me actually. It was the first time I'd felt real deep emotion watching magic. And it's interesting, I think it divided some people, because a friend of mine said he actually didn't like it. He felt it was wrongly placed, but it really got me. I'm very sentimental, and I just thought it was just a lovely moment, and there were tears, and I think people on the thing saying there were tears. And I don't feel that emotional with magic. I love it, but it's very rarely I'll feel, other than laughing and stuff, but it get me at that deep thing. And I did think it was a really beautiful piece, but my opinion. After Justin, Dani de Ortiz, which was less, it was cardy, but it was actually theory based. He was talking about emotion. He did his Tournament Restored card at the beginning, then talked about how to get into the mind of a spectator, really, understand what they're going to be thinking when you do certain things. So when you put a card in your hand in a certain way, they're going to be expecting something to happen. So if that doesn't happen and the trick goes somewhere else, it could be unexpected, but it might not be unexpected in a good way. So if we know kind of what they're thinking, then we can use that, and we can actually tell them beforehand that it's not that, so don't think it's that, it's going to be something else. That's a very basic version of what he was saying. It was very kind of, I did find it, sometimes when he was talking about stuff, I would play with stuff, with the cards that he did the tournament, and then kind of lose track of it a little bit, but that was just me. I think there was a lot of speed going on because people knew they only had a certain time. So I kind of maybe would have liked to sit with that for a little bit, but we can, because we can download it again, of course. So that's not a criticism. It's just kind of like, it was really like, bah, 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 as he is, So that was really nice. There were a couple of little technical things that people have mentioned on here. I will say, first of all, be careful what you mention. Some people haven't seen it, so don't try and give away too much. And also understand that, well, we'll look at it actually we'll look at it later. We'll look at the pros and cons later. But I again liked it that it wasn't just, it was cards, but it was more about performance. And that Tournament Restored card, which I think is on his first DVD, is stunning. I mean, it's not that hard. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's the one thing you can take from those DVDs. Actually, there's a few things, and probably most people could do it. Maybe not exactly the same version. There's a couple of kind of tricky bits in it, but the concept is actually very, very simple. And I think most of his concepts are quite simple. He just does them in an incredible way because he wraps all this performance around it. Andi then did his Master Push-Off, which somebody said on here, Tom, is it doable? It's absolutely doable, and I can demonstrate because I can't do it. I can't. There's this part that I can get two off. You can't even see that. There you go. I can get two off. So it is doable because I couldn't do it before, and I watched it yesterday, and I'm getting there. I think that's not exposure. But what I liked about it is that I've struggled with that because I've seen it at lectures. I haven't actually watched the DVD. I've seen it at lectures, and I've seen it over there with a screen, and I haven't quite got it. And the camera could get right in, and I kind of went, right, there's and you could see on the stream that loads of people were kind of had their cards in their hand, and some people saying, I'm getting two, some were getting four, and that's fine. And he was saying that will happen. But the great thing is everybody was trying it. And there's this weird thing, isn't there, with lectures? Somebody said to me once, so it's rude to get your cards out when someone's lecturing. Is it? Because surely if they're teaching you a card thing, someone like me, I need those cards in my hand. And actually, Dan and Dave Buck used to say, get your cards out for this lecture, because you're not going to learn any of that stuff without your cards in your hand. So I liked that we could get close up, and arguably I learned more than I would at a normal lecture, because it was right there. So it is very doable. I saw Andi, before that DVD came out, years ago when I did the show. I did a show called Evening of Deception that he's part of. And he said, I'm putting this DVD out, I'm working on this thing, and he showed it to me in his kitchen, and he did the thing with 1, 2, dealing 3, dealing 4, with this move. And I saw him do it again and again and again, and with a second deal as well. So, if, you know, it's doable because he can do it. It's just how much work do you want to put in? But luckily there is a whole DVD on it, and he did a trick, which is really good at the end. Then there was Caroline Ravn, I think that's how you pronounce it, who did a whole thing on Instagram. For me, really, really useful if you're the sort of person that just wants loads of followers on Instagram, and that is not a criticism. I do think sometimes there's a big emphasis on how do you get loads of followers rather than how do you create good content. Now, she did talk about that, and it was, and people were finding, you could see the stream, people finding it really useful. But I liked it. I don't know. There's something about how do you get loads of followers. That let's look at the content first, but that's a personal thing. I'd rather have 100 people loving it than 84,000 people just liking stuff. But I did find it was a little bit Instagrammy. That means nothing, does it? It means nothing. But you know what I mean. I suppose if you're into Instagram, you're going to love it. For me, it didn't really do it for me. But some people loved it. Morgan and West. They did this thing about fixing a trick, and they did a thing about fixing one of their own tricks. So taking something that exists, taking what you like out of it, getting rid of the stuff you don't like out of it, and creating something new. And I like the fact they looked at their own stuff, and they took a routine based on Cluedo, which is Clue in the US. Talked about, and they did this on stage, it was part of their show, and then talked about why it didn't work and then what they would have changed about it, which again, this is what we've all got to do. And actually, if you're anything like me, I'm awful at it. There are routines that I've done for 20 years that should have been taken apart a long time ago. I mean, they work, but if I'm really honest, I'm getting more and more inspired to do this when I see people like Morgan and West talk very openly about this, because we do. And I get so jealous when I see double acts, because I really would love someone to bounce off of like that and kind of question me, and which is good. So you must. That's your job. Not too badly, because I'll get upset. And it was funny that people were saying, why have you got painted nails? And they said, well, because we're not Morgan and West when we're in our bedrooms on our computers, which I really liked. Josh J did this more card magic. This talked about tricks that we can do in front of a camera without people getting involved. So he did a really beautiful bluff shift. And then this color change, I'm not going to do it, but based on this thing, you know that did it come out? I was on the camera then, wasn't it? You know this thing when you can get a card out like that, and then you color change it, and it looks brilliant. And I followed along and managed to do it, and it looks brilliant. So again, it looks difficult, but don't think it's that difficult. And then he did an ace production with a triumph. Again, he was saying, what can we do with magic that doesn't have context, doesn't have someone choosing a card? You know, they can look at a card and we can do it all in our hands, which I thought was very nice. Dani Garcia, right? This was probably a highlight for me. Dani Garcia, he was really prolific, wasn't he? A few years ago, and I think he got to that point of, for me, releasing too much. I kind of couldn't keep up with it, and in the deluge, I kind of lost the good stuff and forgot how good he actually is. Now we all know he's brilliant because he works with Blaine. That's not a question whether he's brilliant, but when there's a lot of material released, it is hard to find the stuff. His DVDs I loved. I thought he was brilliant, but I forgot how good he did this thing at the session convention many years ago called the ego placement or the ego control, which is a very deceptive, really nice control. And he showed a routine with that, with this amazing illusion. He's very good at illusions with cards, you know, making you think you're seeing something, a rising card thing, which I think again is very doable. But then he again was talking about how we can be more creative with quarantine when we've got a screen. And he did a trick, and if you'd have seen it, you'll know that this. It was one of those moments where I kind of went, that's what magic feels like. I'd forgotten about that. You know, when you see something, you go, oh, he's done that. And it sort of brought me back to when I first found out about read my first magic books. He did a trick where he basically, you name any card, he shows you a card, he says, that's not the card, but behind it is a lemon. He pulls out a lemon. Anyway, don't ruin it for anybody if it's on here. Try not to, if you don't know, try and read all the comments because people might mention it. But just the most brilliant thing. A really magical moment on a screen, just as magical as a lot of stuff I've seen live, more magical. And then it was funny because David Blaine walked in and his mate, what was it again? What's he called? The other person that works on the show. And it's funny because the whole thing about quarantine, not being able to see people, and then you've got 3 people hanging out. Hang on a minute. Is it one of those things where you go, yeah, but it's David Blaine, isn't it? Yeah, fair enough. All right. So I suppose if David Blaine comes around, it's all right. And then I'll go with that. That's all right. But that was really wonderful, really magical, and a real highlight for me, as was Harrison Greenbaum. Now, Harrison Greenbaum's really going to divide people, which is a good thing, as he says. You don't want everybody to love you. It's like... and I'm sure loads of people hate this, but he, I think, is an absolute breath of fresh air. I think he's said things before that I don't like, that I disagree with, that have made me feel uncomfortable, but I would rather that than people be too safe. And there was a lot of time in magic where every magic book said you've got to be ultra polite to everybody, and you've got to call everybody sir, and you've got to dress in a certain way. And it's like, actually, no, it's the same with comedy. You can be out loud, as long as you're not racist or all that kind of really badly unpolitically correct stuff that creates hate. That's not what we're looking at. But if someone really challenges the status quo, and even if you don't agree with them, I think that's a healthy thing. And with it, he's genuinely funny. He's a brilliant joke writer. He talked about writing jokes. He did the same thing he did at the session, but with this coronavirus kind of theme, because he was theming it to that. And I just thought it was, to me, it's just on the edge of making you go, oh, and it makes me feel something I want to feel at the moment, and that is to be alive and to be slightly edgy, and that to me is a very healthy thing. The fact that he did that on a camera without an audience was really impressive. It's very, very, very hard to be funny, and I thought he was funny. Some of you might not, I know a lot of people did on the stream, without an audience. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and I thought he pulled it off beautifully, and he is self-depreciating enough not to be cocky. I don't think he's arrogant. I think he adds something very inspiring to the magic world, even if you don't agree with it. Then we had the surprise, which was, I will say it because everybody will be talking about it on social media, which was Dynamo, and we've all heard that Dynamo has been ill, which was very worrying because his immune system isn't great, so there's some genuine concern there, and just to see him pop up on the screen looking healthy was a good moment, and again, magic in a very different way. And I think there was so much warmth. He is someone else that comes across as very human, not cocky at all. And I love the way he talks about his new TV show, Still with Excitement. And I don't know him very well. There was a slight connection with me in one of his TV shows way back. But when I have seen him, I've run into him a couple of times, and we always say hello because there's a very little connection there. He's kind of said he'd show me stuff on his phone that he's worked at a couple of years ago at this thing, and he shows people that he's still really into the creation of what he does. And Josh was saying to him, you still read the magic books. He's like, and he's someone that still gets excited about magic. And someone in TV, it's nice to see. It's nice to see still that I'm working on this thing, and you can't fake that excitement. And again, I don't watch much TV magic. It doesn't really do it for me, but it kind of made me want to watch the next show. And I've got great respect for him, and I think he came across very, very well. And he's someone that has worked so hard, so hard in everything he's done, that I think he's incredibly inspiring. So I really enjoyed what he had to say. I won't ruin it, have a look at it. And Jeff McBide was the final. And I've got a little thing, Jeff McBide is someone that has such a specific character that you either absolutely adore it, or it kind of, and I've always loved what Jeff McBide does. I've learned off his DVDs, one of the first things is snap change off DVD. I think he's great, but when it opens with drumming, part of me just goes, oh, and I have to work hard to stay with it. It's because it's a very specific thing, isn't it, that character? The mask and the drumming, it's not really my kind of thing. But I kind of want to go to the magic thing that he does. I want to go to the drumming, dancing thing. It sounded so insulting, didn't it? The drumming and dancing thing. It's not a drumming and dancing thing. Someone remind me what it's called. It's brilliant convention that he does. Mystery School. I had the book. The book's brilliant, so I genuinely want to go. I'm not being narrow-minded about it. But it's that, do I like that sort of magic or not? It doesn't really do it for me. But then the teaching was brilliant. He did this rope-a-dope thing. He did this knots, which is genuinely magical. Presented it in a couple of ways. He did this heart thing. Again, not my kind of magic, but genuinely beautiful. The way he talks about it. Again, someone that's very passionate. Is so passionate. And it's just lovely to see him and his partnership with his wife, and just how they interact. And he created this kind of really theatrical scene, as you would expect. So again, magically not really my kind of thing, but the fact you've got, Harapan, at one end of the spectrum, then Harrison and Jeff McBide all on the same bill makes it feel like a convention. Okay, so it gave it such a rich tapestry of magic that I went, yeah, what a good way to finish. And then it finished with Josh and Andy closing out. So, whew, there you go. So good points of this. All right, it was really nice to be sitting there knowing that a lot of people were sitting watching something and learning a hell of a lot. I learned a lot, and I'm not, I had the cards, the coins there, and all the things, and I found it a really enriching learning experience. It importantly, for the whole thing, it made me forget what was going on out there. Except for when someone mentioned it, and when they mentioned it, there's part of me went, oh yeah, that's going on. It drew me in, and I felt like I was part of something really special. And because it was a long time, it was, some people said it wasn't like a marathon. Yeah, it was, but I liked that. I liked the fact that I was in it. I was there with people. I was watching these things. That was good. The other thing I thought was brilliant about it was how it was flawed, which might sound like a bit of a paradox. People were struggling sometimes to talk over each other, and we're dealing with that technical thing, Morgan and West, and we've seen this on the news. Like I said, we've seen this everywhere at the moment. People were, getting a bit mixed up. Some of the magic was a bit flawed, and someone mentioned it on here. And what I'd like to say is that if you've ever tried doing magic on a camera, it's really difficult, especially if you're used to doing it in front of an audience. I fall apart in front of magicians a lot of the time, and I fall apart on camera a lot of the time. Some of you are thinking, yes, we can see it now. It's very difficult. It's a whole different rhythm. You kind of can't use misdirection. It feels really weird. So you will see, and you'll see it again, people that you respect, that we know of, but we see them at conventions and we just see, this is just amazing. You'll see stuff and you'll go, hang on, that was a bit iffy, because the camera's there, and it's hard to know where to put a camera. It's like you can't get it quite right, because when you're performing to a person, you're using what they're giving you, because communication is a two-way thing. So you're taking in what they're giving you and working with it, even subconsciously. When you've got a camera in front of you, you've almost got, like I'm doing now, I'm visualizing you there and I'm talking to you, but that's a whole, when you're doing magic, it's a whole thing. So try really hard not to judge. We'll see, because if you were watching them, I would swear it would just fly because of the performance. And also, people, Harapan was saying he's nervous. It is really nerve-wracking. I recorded a trick for my card course, Chicago Open, all right? I'm putting it on there next week, magiccourse.com. And I've done that trick for years and years and years. I had to do about 30 takes of it, because every time I watched it, I went, that looks awful. And it probably looks, and it's not the slide was awful, it's just visible. But again, when you're there with somebody standing there instead of a camera there, so you've got to be forgiving. And we need to, this to go forward, is to give people a benefit of the doubt. I understand it from what it would be like if you were in an audience and not looking at it like that, because they're thinking of a lot of different things. So it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. And it's like Harrison, like I've said, doing that, imagine sitting there with a computer knowing that thousands of people are watching this, which was a great thing. 5,000 people was the average. It went up and down, people that went in and went out, but they counted up everybody that had been in and out, and there was 30,000 people plus. So it world record of the largest ever online magic gathering, or online gathering. Hang on, let me just have a look. I've got the thing here. Biggest magic event ever. There you go. So, to know those people are watching you is, I don't care who you are, it's nerve-wracking, it's weird. It's kind of like, it's live, so you can't go back. So as I still get nervous about doing this. So it's that. It brought people together. It talked openly about the situation a few times, and the big thing is it humanized everybody. And this is what I think, the one thing that will come out of this, magic especially, but all art forms, we sometimes get a wrong opinion of people, don't we? We put them on a pedestal and we expect a lot of them, and we kind of dehumanize them sometimes, and we see them as being perfect. And when we see people that are being flawed, that are in their bedrooms, that are working with the technical stuff and struggling, it realizes that it humanizes them. And what, for us people that are learning, and I'm still always learning, is it makes me feel that you are human, you do struggle, you are someone that goes through the same things as me, but manages to to overcome it. And that for me was is the really important thing of this whole thing, is that hopefully we'll see that that person achieved that thing not because of some innate weird special ability, but because they work their arse off and they still have the same struggles and vulnerabilities as we all do. And that's what's nice to hear, is people say, I get really nervous, and when Justin's talking about his family, and I really like that. That was the one thing. There was this humanity and vulnerability going through the whole thing when Dynamo was talking about his stuff, when Justin was talking about his family, when Harapan was saying about how nervous he was, when Josh and Andi were talking over each other. Everybody was kind of really trying the hardest, hadn't had much rehearsal, and they were pressing the button and that didn't work, and then there were lags, and I actually thought that added a great deal to it for me. It made me feel like I was amongst human beings that weren't doing what they did years ago, which was trying to be superhuman and flawless. Because there's a lot, a few years ago, some people just wouldn't have done it because they might not have looked good. So it was that's what I sort of came out of it. Now the issues are, as I've said, obviously you're going to have technical issues. This is a new thing for everybody. It was very card heavy. A lot of people have said that it was very card heavy. The other good thing related to that was that I probably learned more than I would at most Magic conventions, because with card stuff especially, I need to get in there. I need the cards in the hand, and that camera being up close with Andy's stuff, with Dani's stuff, with everybody, and Josh's colour change. The fact that I could see it and work along with it, and they were repeating it, Harapan repeated it enough times for me to then get it, was a different thing. If I'm in a massive room with a screen, I kind of get it. I switch off sometimes because I'm like, I can't follow this, but I didn't get that. I kind of followed along with it, and I thought within the card stuff there was enough theory as well. Yes, we could have done, Jeff's stuff wasn't cards, but we could have maybe done with a bit more non-card stuff. There wasn't much in the way of sort of coins. Not that it's cards or coins. That's all I'm interested in, really. But just, again, and I'm sure a lot of people think that as well. So I think that's all I've got to say to it. Big old ramble. I will check questions now. But I will say I thought it was a really positive, amazing thing. The Vanishing Ink team, and this is where I'm going to sound like I'm paid by them. I'm not. I work with teams in my work. Part of my other job that's probably gone now. It's when I work with building teams and what it means to be a high-performing team. How do you get from a normal team to a high-performing team? All that good to great stuff. And that is not an easy thing to do. Or what you need people that are going to work their asses off, that are going to deal with the issues. You deal with when the stream went down, which was another thing that happened. I go in a blind panic. I'm sure they're all going, what do we do? Because they showed Justin Willman's TV stuff with permission, but the bots on YouTube obviously picked that up and shut the stream down, which, you got thousands of people there. How does that feel? But they dealt with it amazingly. They put something together that they know could have gone very wrong. And I think hats off to a company, and they're not the only company, so I'm not saying that, but they are a company that they want to make a lot of money, but they want to do it with a value system behind them. And that's exactly what floats my boat. So, I've got to be honest, it's great stuff. And I think they did a very, very good job. And I hope everybody does this. I will say that there's a thing happening now that when someone puts something online and they try and charge for it, everybody's going, well, why are you charging for it? I think we've got to be a little bit careful with that. All right. Yes, it's brilliant we have all this free stuff, but there are people that still need to make a living. And I'm not meaning, I think about my card course. I'd love to make that free. It's all I've got left, so I can't. All right, so what I do is I try and add more free stuff, and obviously it's great that we're giving to each other and we're doing this, but try not to be too harsh on the people. Somebody that I saw online the other day said, I'm doing a lecture, it's £5 or something. Everybody's like, why isn't it free? And it's like, we've still got to spend money or the economy is going to be in an even worse state. So the fact that a couple of people that Vanishing Ink were also selling their books. We've got this book out. They released the trailer of the Ben Hart book. Is a good thing. We need to keep buying stuff and selling stuff. All right, so don't feel bad about it. I'm not saying, hey, buy everything on Vanishing Ink, everything. Just if you've got money, I'm doing it. I'm still buying magic books. I shouldn't be because I'm destitute. But not just off them. I bought what did I buy the other day? Off someone else. God, I can't remember. But anyway, so right, I'm going to go to questions. Well done for still being there. Yeah, let's have a look. Smash a like, but thank you so much. Yeah, do like and subscribe while I just look. I mean, look at my phone. Big shout out to Andy and Josh, plus all the guests. Absolutely, John. I mean, just everybody just done a brilliant thing. And you can, Steve, share Magic Live with a great novel concept for a virtual magic convention. I missed the dealers hall though. yeah, I know. We want to buy stuff, don't we? They cut out the only coin trick. Oh, did they? What was that one then? I like the nice colour change. The colour change at Josh did was amazing. Magic for Humans is almost as much comedy as a magic show. Yeah, I think it's about what you can make from it. It's not just someone doing magic, is it? Where can I rewatch the Share Magic Live? I'm going to put this. They've just put it on there now, so I'm going to put the link below it. But if you Google Vanish Link Share Magic Live, it will come up. I'm not going to pick up on the hate stuff. Very good. Sorry about this, but this is. I'm not going to boot anybody out. Just be nice to each other. Okay. Really appreciate Harrison shouting out magicians who are female. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Do we have any women taking tuition through card magic course? It seems there are a lot more women performing these days. Great thing. Yes, that's a good point. And Harrison does do this brilliant joke where he says we're 100% more than most magic conventions because we have one woman. Yeah, I mean, it's a real issue, isn't it? It's probably another discussion for another thing. A huge issue. It's the same in stand-up comedy, even though it's got a lot better than it used to be. I think it's a socialization issue. I think that it's the way it's the way it was promoted. I had big problems with the way some of the ads I saw for Magic Flicks, which some of my stuff's on. Very kind. I don't like seeing the kind of women in sexy underwear promoting magic. It's kind of just a bit tacky. That wasn't I don't think that was Magic Flicks itself. I think that was them doing, but it just, I think we're still a bit behind. And you know what? And I will get a bit. When Caroline was on, there were a few people commenting that was just a bit like, come on, it's like someone was like, oh, she'd done a trick to a pillow that she was talking about, and someone goes, I'll give you my pillow or you'd have my pillow. And it was just like, do we have to really focus on the fact that someone is a woman still? Can we just sort of say it's a magician? And I think there's something that we do have to look at, but we are saying that we're getting there. Getting there very slowly. The fact that you can probably name all the female magicians is probably an issue. It is a problem. Okay. Oh yeah, Jim Krenz was going to do a coin thing, but it got cut, and they had to cut. The cut was just a bad luck thing. It wasn't that the coins were cut; it was just that they had a certain amount of time. Okay, so thank you very much indeed for watching. That was a right old long ramble. I dread to think how long it was, but I hope it was useful. I hope it was interesting. And feel free to give me feedback, but be nice because we're all a bit at the moment. Do be nice to each other. Understand that when you comment on something, there were a few comments yesterday that straight away, the minute it started, picked up on the negativity. And I'm not having a go at people. I'm just saying, just try at the moment to be a little bit, people are trying, people are failing, people are then succeeding, and we're going through a whole new thing. So give people the benefit of the doubt is what I'm trying to say, I think. If you see something that, the thing started, oh yes, the music went on for ages, and it was quite funny because everybody was like, shut the music off. And then everybody was like, we're trying, but everybody was like, turn the music off. And I get it, because I was feeling a bit like, ugh. But once they said you're trying, it should have been like, all right, let's let them get on with it. So try and empathise a little bit with each other. We're all going to be stumbling. I'm stumbling. I'm rubbish at some of this, and we'll all get there together. But if we can be vulnerable, be honest, and be human beings that are just all trying to be the best magicians we can be, I think that is a great thing. So thanks very much. I'll get off my high horse now, Steve. and have a great one. See you next week at 5, and I'm glad we didn't get closed down. Take care, everyone. See you later. Oh, and check out cardmagiccourse.com.